Greetings Earthlings, and welcome to my third misconception video. No, I don't have a lisp, it's merely a play on words. Now, my first video dealt with pets and animals, the second with history, and this instalment will give a look at science and natural phenomena. Remember the tenet: if something is asserted often enough, it will eventually be accepted as truth. Many from this list of 10 I am now about to relate suffer from this very curse. So let's get started. Number 1, alcohol kills brain cells. Well, to quote a famous alcoholic, when I first read about the evils of alcohol, it put me off reading. But fortunately for me, alcohol doesn't kill brain cells. A few drinks over the weekend, even an alcoholic binge, your brain cells are completely safe. But it can effectively destroy the ends of neurons, which will disrupt or alter messages sent from one cell to another. This damage, by and large, is reversible, though. What is dangerous among severe alcoholics is when most of the daily calorie intake is supplied by alcohol consumption. Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome can result in a permanent loss of neurons in the brain, causing memory problems, confusion, lack of coordination and ocular paralysis. And this is caused by the resulting thiamine deficiency prevalent among severe alcoholics. But you can drink and make merry without fear of killing your noggin fruit. While we're on the brain, let's debunk number 2. We only use 10% of our brain. Well, it's long been believed that there is a huge percentage of our brain that we simply don't use, and as a result, a huge untapped potential. This myth has been a subject for many psychics and spiritualists who claim that this latent potential can be unlocked to access mental powers such as ESP and even telekinesis. Elaborate fraudsters like Uri Geller have certainly made his living from it. The truth is, we can't survive on just using 10% of our brain. It's actually been observed that we use all of our brain, and although still not fully understood, the map of our brain is fairly complete. We may use different parts of it depending on what we are doing throughout the day, with some parts of the brain continually in use, but we certainly at no point use only 10% of our brain. Number 3, lightning never strikes the same place twice. Tell that to poor park ranger Roy Sullivan, who was struck a whopping 7 times by lightning, and the Empire State Building in New York, which is struck over 25 times a year. At 50,000 feet, lightning has no exact target. Rather, it zigzags down towards Earth, sometimes left, sometimes right, sometimes up, sometimes down. Once it approaches a grounded object, a streamer composed of oppositely charged particles shoots up to meet it. Streamers from several objects can rush upwards, but the first one to reach the lightning completes the circuit and a massive electrical charge is released, creating a lightning bolt. Lightning sometimes is seen to flash or pulsate several times. This is not at all This is because not all the charge is lost on the initial strike, and the lightning will strike the same target several times in quick succession. So, just because an object is hit once does not make it immune to being struck again. In fact, if there is a storm in the area, it's just as likely to be struck again. Number 4, evolution says we are descended from chimpanzees. Well, it never really has. Although chimpanzees and bonobos are our closest primate relatives, they are a completely separate species, as are gorillas, orangutans, baboons, and all the other ape species. And they are certainly not our ancestors. You will not see, for instance, a baboon evolve into a gorilla. And people seem to grasp this, but they still expect to see species of ape become human over time, in some self-fulfilling Planet of the Apes type prophecy. Evolution states that we share a common progenitor with the apes, and that chimpanzees are our closest primate cousin to that ancestor. At some point, roughly 6 million years ago, we split from our shared family of hominid ancestors, and there are now many extinct transitional species evident in the fossil record along our 6 million year old path to becoming Homo sapiens. Number 5, a penny dropped from a high building will kill someone when it strikes them at ground level. If it were true, I'm sure many a fiendish serial killer would have hurried to the rooftops everywhere to start inexpensive killing sprees. The fact is, though, it simply isn't true at all. Even if dropped from 1,000 feet, a penny tumbles as it falls and is so light that air resistance will ensure that it reaches terminal velocities after the first 50 or 60 foot, and that will only be a measly 25 miles an hour. Enough to be noticeable if it hit you, but definitely not enough to kill you. Even a pound coin might sting a little, but it still would not be fatal. But may I please add that I certainly do not condone the dropping of pennies or indeed pounds off of tall objects, even in the name of science or indeed charity. Number 6, pheromones can stimulate sexual attraction between humans. Although an anatomical aspect of our olfactory senses has been identified as capable of sensing pheromones, it's pretty certain that this feature is vestigial, i.e. no longer in use. The fact is, the tiny duct behind our nasal cavities that is meant to detect pheromone is not always present, and the genes for its receptors seem to be inoperative. There is no doubt that pheromones play a crucial role in sexual attractions and mate selection among lower orders of animals, and almost infallibly for insects. Pheromones also tend to be species-specific, so for instance rhino pheromones will only work on other rhinos. Studies suggest that they almost certainly do not elicit sexual attraction between humans, as visual cues processed by the brain are such a dominant factor. But a product might be effective if the person wearing it believes that it works, simply by conveying a pronounced sense of confidence, which both sexes will view as attractive. Number 7, you can see the Great Wall of China from space. Although we have technology now to see buildings, streets and people from orbit, the Great Wall of China isn't visible from space, and certainly not from the moon. At its widest, it's only about 10 metres, and at most points is exactly the same colour as the landscape, so it makes it very difficult to see. So far too small and indistinct to be seen from outside the atmosphere. Number 8, you lose most of your body heat through your head. You most certainly do not. The real figure is near 10% of body heat being lost through the head. No more than any other part of the body with the same surface area. The head and face in particular are more sensitive to changes in temperature, but you will lose no greater heat through an uncovered head than you will an uncovered leg. So slipping on trousers, gloves and a scarf are all equally as important as slipping on a hat. But what needs to be understood though is extreme sub-zero weather conditions will affect any exposed body part, especially body extremities. Toes, fingers, noses and ears have all been lost to frostbite by people not wearing sufficient protection. 9, we swallow up to 8 spiders a year in our sleep. It is truly amazing what people will believe. This myth is actually attributed to Lisa Holst, a columnist who wanted to prove how easy it was to start an urban legend. And she did. Sleeping with your mouth open usually suggests that we are breathing pretty heavily, which a spider would immediately recognise as a larger, potentially dangerous animal and automatically avoid. The fact that a spider would voluntarily enter the mouth of a larger animal, having first to bypass our sensitive lips and even our tongue, suggests a suicidal tendency that would be hard to reconcile with the spider's 300 million years of evolution. Oh, we're there already. Number 10. Chameleons change colour to camouflage themselves from predators. Chameleons can indeed change their colour using specialised cells called chromatophores, but it is highly debated whether they do it to escape predators, not when they can run at an astonishing 21 miles an hour and escape most predators with ease. It has been observed that chameleons will change their colour to reflect moods and express social signals to other chameleons. Specific colours to show aggression, and a slideshow of colours to attract possible mates. And some have even been seen to change colour to adjust to changing temperatures. Cuttlefish are another very elegant example of how this works. So it's not so much to do with camouflage, it's more to do with communication. Oh, and there we have it. Another 10 misconceptions, hopefully put to rest. But as always, if you're at odds with any of my assertions, please leave a comment below. I think some of my terminology in the evolution misconception may be a little bit outdated, so do let me know. And of course, I'm not averse to learning, and my knowledge is certainly by no means absolute. But please tune into my next misconception video. Until then.